Thierry is a climate communicator who works on how best to convey climate science to the public. He joins us now from Cardiff in the UK. Really good to have you with us. Firstly, what are climate scientists saying about the link between global heating and the heat wave that we're seeing now?
Yeah, heat waves are probably the clearest example of the impacts that climate change is having already. We're very sure that climate change is making heat waves like the ones that we're seeing across the world right now a lot more severe and last a lot longer and have a lot more impact on human societies.
Yes, we know for many years now, the climate activists and scientists have been urging governments to take action against a climate crisis more seriously. How would you describe the efforts that are currently underway to reduce global heating?
I think it's fair to say that we're currently not on track to meet anything like what's required. Um, Unfortunately, we're still seeing emissions rise globally, and as emissions rise, then so do the impacts. Um, in order to hold global warming to the levels agreed at Paris and subsequently at Glasgow by all the world's governments, then it's really clear we have to stop all new fossil fuel projects from going ahead. And yet many countries, including my own in the UK, are continuing to license for new fossil fuel exploration, which is completely against what the science is telling us. So if we're really serious about trying to stop these impacts from getting much, much worse, and the science is very clear that large parts of the Mediterranean, for example, will start to desertify in just a few decades' time if we don't take action now. So we have to really drastically reduce our fossil fuel usage, which means, first and foremost, stopping exploration and expansion of the fossil fuel industry.
Well, that's right. As you say, there's been many years of scientific evidence showing the link between man-made climate change and emissions from fossil fuels and other carbon-emitting sources as well. Why do you think then governments around the world have been quite hesitant or slow in reacting more decisively to the climate crisis?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think the facts of the matters is the power of the fossil fuel industry in maintaining its kind of status as, the main energy provider and continuing with business as usual. So what we've seen is a lot of efforts from the fossil fuel industry to try and delay the transition to low carbon alternatives, which has included lobbying, included, disinformation campaigns, to confuse the public about the urgency of the need for action. So really, I think I would put, and a lot of the science is pointing towards this, that really that's been one of the key barriers. And really, we need people to push their governments and also push industries like banks, like pension funds, like the insurance sector, to really start to disinvest from fossil fuels and reallocate their resources and their assets to clean alternatives. We have all the solutions and all the technologies that we need available to us. The IPCC and other scientific reports have been very clear that we know what we need to do and we can do it, but we can't do it unless governments and the big banks and so on actually finance this to make it possible.
On the flip side, we are seeing younger activists like Sweden's Greta Thunberg garner a lot of international attention. They're managing to rally literally hundreds of thousands of young people from across the globe calling for action on the climate crisis. Are you hopeful that as this generation grows up, perhaps we will see more decisive action in the future?
I am, because I think that's what it's going to take. And actually, I can't see any other option really, because the impacts are so severe for these young people's futures that they really have to start taking to the streets in that way in order to really put pressure enough to accelerate the transition to secure themselves a sustainable and livable future. And so I think we're going to see more of this as young people start to really see the impacts, realize what it means for them and their future, and they're going to, I think, refuse to go along with that. They're not going to just walk to this like state of destruction that's currently projected for them. So I really hope that young people put as much pressure as they possibly can on their decision makers so that we do stop burning fossil fuels, which is the main driver of the climate crisis, and instead invest in the solutions that are available to us.
Okay, Thierry, we'll have to leave it there. But thanks so much for joining us on TRT World.